I want to talk to you about a subject that is becoming more and more important. And I think we need to look at it because it's a part of history, and we need to look at it to see, what did they believe then as opposed to what we believe now. And, why do we believe it now that they didn't believe then? Now, the subject is, and I want to talk about slavery. Now, for us here in 2018 to judge someone 200 years ago, 150 years ago, 100 years ago on this subject and how they thought about it is not right, because they basically had no other understanding. I'm gonna read like a letter I wrote, because I won't get the details in. But they didn't have the understanding we have. Now, I don't know why we have the understanding, but we do. But to villainize these people and just damn them to hell because they believe differently when the whole world had never known anything differently than that's not right. The better question is, why do we believe differently today? But let me read this. So I wanted to set it up that way. So here we go. This is a very tough subject to deal with, but there is truth we need to look at as to build a proper framework. And that is, the slave owners in America were part of a system that had always existed in the known history of man. Some want to say that American slavery was not the same as the slavery taught about in the scriptures, because the brutality, or rather, considering the brutality of the past nations, I don't see how they could support that statement. I mean, slavery in itself is not a good thing, but they've been very brutal nations. See, but we know Abraham owned people. Israel, as a nation of people, owned other people. Paul spoke directly to the masters, but he never once even implied that they should free their slaves. I'm talking about the Apostle Paul. So where does that leave us now when we impute such great sin to those people who own people? I think it is sin. I think slavery is sin. But in the same breath, I do not think it is correct for us to condemn these men who did not see it as sin in their time. I think it is a slippery slope if we don't acknowledge that they were only doing what they had always done. Because if we apply today's standards to them, then we have to, by necessity, blame Jesus when he mentioned slaves, but did not condemn it, or the Apostle Paul for not condemning it. Ultimately, we have to blame God for not giving us clear scripture condemning this act. Of course, some want to say God covered it when he talked about men stealers. He put that as part of the list of sin, men stealers. To think it is, someone who kidnaps. But I think it's quite obvious that is kidnapping from your own people, and not what they were doing when they went into other nations and took captives. They were always doing that during warfare. But I think we, at least to be intellectually honest, we should ask ourselves, why do we see this so clearly today and the world past did not? Maybe, and I do say maybe, we can understand it in the sense that Adam and Eve at first did not know they were naked until they acquired the knowledge of good and evil when they ate the fruit. And maybe, just maybe, we can at least ask the question, was this understanding withheld from us by God for some reason until these days? I mean, it's hard for us to look at it and say it's not sin. But they didn't see it. Didn't see it. God never said, don't do this, this is sin. They never saw it. Now, that's an interesting concept. So I think where we ought to be is we're thankful that God has revealed this to us. But see, some are using this when they tear down these statues, for example. I've never owned a Confederate flag because I don't live in the past. So these things don't have a whole lot of meaning for me. But for them to tear them down and just completely villainize and just damn to hell these people who didn't know any different. And some of them were Christian people who wrote books and are highly esteemed today, but they're being villainized for something they knew no difference in doing it. I mean, it was just part of the world. Slavery is part of the world. It was just part of the world. So I wanted to do this quickly. This can only, cause me problems because we've come to a time now where we are not supposed to acknowledge the truth. We're supposed to create a lie and just go on and just everybody believes that lie and move on from there. But we're having some trying times, and it's slipping into the church where these social justice warriors want to be somewhat identified by their actual skin color. That we're supposed to somehow have a framework that the gospel covers their skin color and maybe their experiences. Whatever. I'm not going to try to explain their agenda, but we are seeing these things, and as part of that, we're seeing a villainizing these people of old. So again, I wanted to cover this and see if we could shed some light on this.